Hello everybody, in this video we will talk about base and OverTarget priorities. Another tweak from Kizimo, I think is the last one from Kizimo, and the concept is that we change the priorities for our devices, for the system devices, for the hardware. So we do changes on the hardware, on the device level. So the concept is we do all those changes and after that we get a performance improvement, theoretically always. The most important thing about this thing that I want to mention is that the revert file, as you see, is based on my machine, on my Windows version. This specifically is from Windows 11 24 22, the latest anyways version of Windows 11 Pro. So maybe you see some differences. Why I say that? Because as you see, I removed some D words because by default they doesn't exist on my machine. So the theory here is that you should create your own revert file based on your machine. And in extension, we can say the same thing about this. You need to adjust this tweak based on your machine, based on your own paths, on your own directories, on the registry. So you must be very cautious with that tweak, because if you revert it, you may get blue screens or you lost the access on the operating system. So be very cautious. So that's about the whole story about those tweaks and the warnings that I should mention. And let's go to the main part. So today we include the base and OverTarget priorities. The outline includes tweaks explanation, hardware software tools, terminology, latency and FPS analysis, and finally a conclusion. The explanation is simple. These registry tweaks adjust base priority and OverTarget priority values for system devices and drivers, potentially increasing their thread priority. This could theoretically improve responsiveness or reduce latency in specific hardware tasks, but it might lead to system instability or conflicts if not tested carefully. So again, be very careful with those tweaks. The hardware, the software and the tools that I use are the same as always. The terminology again is the same: 5 minutes in idle after startup. In FPS, 5 tests of 30 seconds each. On the latency, 10 tests of 10 seconds each. So we're ready to see the Fortnite latency. I tested first of all the direct kernel driver. I saw the results. And again, we can't say that we have any improvement. Same for Rentos kernels and same for Direct's MMS too. It's still we see the same concept. For that reason, I moving fast because I haven't anything to mention. You can pause the video and see the differences. You don't see any improvement at all. So in terms of latency, we don't see unfortunately any improvement. However, the FPS part again is better. Now the main question that you may have is that how it's possible to on your last videos always we see more FPS after. First of all, I use the same samples, the same tests, but the default tests I use them always for a couple of videos that you see now, and the differences are the after samples with the tweaks that I applied. So for that reason you see those differences. However, that doesn't mean that you don't get that improvement, but I must mention it. For that reason we may have some inaccuracies. For that reason I say always do your own test. Regardless that, again we can say that we have some improvement. We see more FPS, in average 1% loss and 0.1% loss. The SD and the average frame times are actually the same, so I don't care really much. Same thing for CS2, again more FPS on average 1% and 0.1. Again the SD and average frame times are the same, and we're coming to the same conclusion as the previous video. We see better FPS after, but generally same latency at both cases. But one important thing here is that it's good that we don't see any differences in latency, at least worse latency So we can say that we don't see any difference in latency. It's actually the same, but we get more FPS. So the latency remains the same. We don't get worse latency to gain some FPS. So you get theoretically a performance advantage in terms of FPS without any negative effect on latency. So it is worth to use them, those keywords. The answer is probably test, as I say always. If we consider that we get more FPS, and if you need really too much the FPS, probably you should try those keywords. And thanks Kizimo for this if you see an improvement. But be very careful, as I said. Use a second machine, a dual boot, a VM, a virtual machine, to be 100% sure that you won't get any problem. Because if you use your main system, likely you will have issues. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. See you on the next video.